Hello everyone and welcome to the F2 show by Inside F2. Formula 2 headed to Monte Carlo this weekend for round number 5 of the season, and unlike Formula 1 it did not disappoint. Joining me to reflect on the crazy antics of this weekend we have Formula 2 journalists Aaron Harper and Martin Lloyd, and we're also joined by a special guest for this one as well, Formula 2 commentator Chris McCarthy. Aaron, Martin, we'll come to you first. How are we doing, chaps? Enjoy the Monaco race weekend, Aaron?
Yeah, it's always really fun to see racing cars going around the streets of Monaco, as ludicrous and bonkers as it is, and as much as the racing action can be slightly tedious at times, there is always that element of something might happen that just turns it all upside down, and that's basically what you're hoping for at a circuit like that.
And that's what we got in Formula 2. Formula 1, maybe not so much, but we won't talk about the Formula 1 race because we could also do a whole new podcast on that as well. Martin, all good. And you're somewhere different today, aren't you? I think, are you going to hold the mic like that? Is that how you're going to do things today?
Yeah, I've got to hold it like this. The setup's not ideal, but
he thinks he's Chris McCarthy, didn't he?
Yeah, that's the look I'm going for. It works for Chris, got to work for me, hasn't it?
Absolutely. Okay. And I know you guys have been on the press conferences this weekend as well, so looking forward to hearing your insight. Chris, have you managed to catch your breath from another chaotic weekend in Formula 2? I feel like every race weekend at the moment is just carnage,
something different at us every weekend. This was definitely no different. I mean, that's got to be one of the biggest Monaco crashes there's been for a little while, right? And then what happened straight after that was another huge shunt in Porsche Super Cup as well. So I think we did about 90 minutes of red flag chat in the space of about 3 hours. So I had Gary Paffett with me for his first ever Porsche Super Cup race. And he was sitting next to me for the F2 race, and I sort of said to him, "Oh, well, you know what to do if there's a red flag now." And it was, it happened straight away. So thankfully all drivers okay, of course. But yeah, I didn't expect two in the space of one day. That's for sure.
So I pay you the big dollars, mate. So listen, we're going to be talking about that crash at the start of the feature race as well. We're going to be talking about Kush Miney's first win of the season. We're going to be talking about the red flags, the safety cars, the penalties, and the maiden podiums from this weekend. So there's lots to talk about. How are we going to start this one? Should we start with Jack Crawford, the eventual winner of the feature race? A split-second decision to dive into the pits, and a decision that proved decisive, Chris. I know you covered it in commentary, but that decision to dive into the pits was so last minute, wasn't it? But it turned out to be a race-winning call.
Yeah, you know what? Just right place, right time. Look at the draw. It's Monaco, isn't it? He preempted what was going to happen, but it turned out they all were. I think we heard that in the cool-down room. They were all slowing down. They could all see what was going to happen. I think we could all see watching the race that there was, there's going to be a safety car. There had to be. So, and Jack Crawford, we could see from his onboard that he'd left quite a substantial gap to the cars ahead, and he was... he had one eye on that on the pit entry, and it just came out for him at the perfect time, didn't it? And that's what sent him ultimately through pit lane. And as the rest of the field came down to the Nouvelle chicane, we knew ultimately that they were doomed in terms of getting the win. And Leo Fornaroli is going to have to wait a little bit longer for his win. So I think even Jack Crawford felt sorry for Leo Fornaroli as much as he was happy to get his win. So. It's part of racing. Sometimes the luck just falls on your side. Zach O'Sullivan knows all about that. But he preempted what was going to happen. Had he stayed right on the back of the top three, he wouldn't have got that victory. So so credit to him in terms of that. But I think he'd be first to say that was Leo Fornaroli's race.
Could be a game-changing weekend for Jack Crawford in this season, really, couldn't it? After completely pointless weekends in Melbourne and Bahrain at the start of the season. Aaron, is that experience paying off? Obviously, a third year in the category. That decision to back off a little bit, and as Chris has just alluded to give himself a bit of space in case there was a safety car, it paid off, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, sort of. If we make the sort of leap up to Formula One for a moment, you always hear the commentators talking about Fernando Alonso, how he's basically driving with one eye on the road and one eye on the TV screen, so he knows what's going on. He's just got so much capacity to do other things and think about the race that's going on around him and drive the strategy. So for Jack to be obviously looking at the screens as he goes around the track, they'll be doing reduced speed, so all the drivers will have that opportunity to actually look and see what's going on, and they know what's probably going to be a safety car. It was fairly obvious. I'm surprised it wasn't a safety car straight away, to be honest. I thought that was really a strange decision from race control when you know that you're just going to have to throw the full safety car anyway. So why waste the time? But Jack, like you say, Chris, was giving himself that buffer just in case, so he could go as slow as he could get away with and then duck into the pit lane. And it was hero or zero stuff, wasn't it? If it was a second later, he wouldn't have made it. He might have tried to make it and ended up in the wall, like David Coulthard in 1995 back in Adelaide.
Oh, here we go. Bringing it back to the 90s F1, yeah.
Which is it's a hilarious piece of footage. If you go and search it on YouTube, you can find it. It would have been one of those moments, but it was a crucial move. And I asked him after the race if he felt sort of more, it was better to be lucky than good, and how he felt to be on the right end of pit stops going his way, because obviously we spoke last week about the pit stops in Imola not going his way, and it basically cost him a shot at the win. He said, he felt repaid, and he just felt so lucky. And sometimes it really is better to be lucky than good in sport, and you make your own luck. And he did that by putting himself in the right position to take advantage of it. So credit to Jack for having the capacity to think, I need to create a gap, I need to back off and be in position to capitalise. It's a bit like a footballer. If you don't have your striker in the penalty box, they're never going to score, because you're not going to score from outside the penalty area all the time. You need to be in it to win it. So that was very well played from Jack Crawford, and it's brought him right back into the championship fight. He's really not far off the pace end at the moment. So we saw him do very well last year in Spain. If he can continue this momentum through Barcelona, he could walk out of the triple header as the championship leader, which if you'd said that to us at the start of the triple header, we'd have said, yeah, okay, anything's possible in Formula 2, but maybe he's a bit far back. But look, the Jeddah performance was great. A little bit of fortune here. Credit to him. He deserved that bit of fortune after the way that Jeddah and Imola played out. So, very pleased for him.
Yeah, he's one of the form drivers at the moment. Obviously, as we've said, after not scoring in Melbourne and Sakir, to be 56 points, fifth in the championship, only 14 points off the championship lead in just the last 3 rounds is unbelievable going by Jack Crawford. And by the way, Aaron, do you feel better now you got that 90s F1 comment in there? Is that
scratch that itch?
That Grand Prix about 9 years before I was born.
Just to make you feel old, Aaron. Martin, what was Leo Fornaroli? You've got to feel for him. He did not put a foot wrong in that feature race. Obviously, avoiding the carnage at the start, which we're going to get onto, and not putting a foot wrong all race. Yeah, you've got to feel sorry for him. What was he saying in the press conference?
Well, it was just so. Yeah, it's not often that you see a driver of his caliber, really upset that they've not got a win, because they always have the mindset of, okay, but I came second, okay, I came third, or if they've crashed, okay, I've got the next race. But Leo, you could tell that he was quite frustrated, which I really don't blame him for. And I'm going to push back slightly on Aaron's point about Jack Crawford. And I think Crawford, he was in the right place at the right time. He did a very good job to create the gap and all of those things. But I think it's something that you touched on, Fraser. We knew, Dino had gone into the wall head on Casino Square. It was going to be at least a full safety car, if not a red flag, which it eventually proved to be. I don't understand why we had a lap or so under the virtual safety car where nobody could pit, and then they bring out the full safety car, and then it's luck of the draw. It's where are you on the track? And if you're going to bring out the full safety car in a race that we'd had to that point where there had been a lot of chaos, I'm not saying you need to look at where people are on track and advantage them, of course not, but I think it was quite frustrating. It would have, if I was Fornaroli, I'd be quite frustrated because that win, as much as Crawford created a gap, it was pure luck. It wasn't like at Imola where Crawford got jumped in the pits and then he was stuck behind a few cars in a safety car that Dunn and Browning got through faster. It wasn't like at Jeddah where ultimately Richard Verschoor was quicker. Race control made the decision to call the safety car at that time, and that directly advantaged Jack Crawford and handed him the race win unless he was going to crash under the safety car, of which there was one lap before they called the red flag, just to allow everyone to pit so that they didn't have to disqualify everyone for not doing a mandatory stop. So I think, yes, Jack Crawford was in the right place at the right time, but you cannot not feel incredibly sorry for Leo Fornaroli because he did not deserve to lose that race. He had pretty much won that race. He was waiting for the safety car to come out to make the pit stop, to tidy everything up, and it would have been him on the top step of the podium for the first time in 4 years. And I just feel that as much as Crawford did well to pit at the right time, I just think that Leo was, I don't want to use the phrase robbed, but I really think he should have been on the top step of the podium on Sunday.
Martin, I completely agree that the safety car was thrown too late. They should have thrown it immediately because it was obvious what was needed there. The car was buried in the barriers. You're going to need recovery equipment on the circuit. It was almost a guaranteed red flag as well because of the damage that was done to the barriers. So, yes, I completely agree with you there. And I must add to your point on Fornaroli, yes, he was enormously frustrated, but I actually thought he conducted himself very, very well in the press conference.
Absolutely.
English is not his first language. He always thinks very carefully about how he responds to answers. And Italians are famously they have a bit of flair, especially when they're feeling sort of passionate about things. So I thought he wore the disappointment incredibly well in terms of not saying anything he maybe shouldn't have, just conducted himself really well. He got asked about the safety car in the press conference and he didn't really want to say too much. He thought very carefully about what he was saying. He didn't want to come out and say, hey, race control have just cost me a victory. And do you know what? I feel really bad because I thought Fornaroli is going to win. He's got this wrapped up. But then I thought, he hasn't won in 4 years. Something's going to go wrong. Chris, I don't know if you got that feeling in commentary that it was all under control or if something was just going to intervene. That's just the way his life is going at the moment.
Yeah.
He's P1.
I felt that with what happened at Turn 1, that this was his day. We've seen some things happen to him over the years. F3, where he hit a problem in the race and dropped back. I felt that it was meant to be that Leo sort of saw the incident coming at Turn 1, made his way through. And controlled the race from the front, and Monaco, what a story! He's had to wait 4 years, but what a way to do it in the feature race, Grand Prix Sunday, and that was the story that was written for Leo Fornaroli. Yes, we were going to have to get some pit stops complete, and the safety car was going to come out, but he was going to be first to the flag, and it was going to be a momentous day for him. But yes, there'll be questions to be answered as to why the top three were allowed to pass and Jack Crawford was allowed to go in. Of course, race control were under a huge amount of pressure that day, the most they've probably been under for a long, long time. Maybe that added to why certain decisions were made at certain times. But yeah, his day will come. He's gone through Freca, and we used to say he was the most consistent driver in that championship I ever saw. And then in F3, of course, he won a championship without winning a race, which is, you could almost make a case study of that. It's it shows, you teach drivers at karting that being consistent is the most important thing, and Leo demonstrated that on F1 level, in the F1 paddock. So yeah, his day will come, and I tell you what, every driver in that paddock will be so pleased for him when it does, and he's still in the championship fight. So
he is, yeah, P3 in the championship, only 6 points off the championship lead. He is absolutely, well, he's doing it again, isn't he? He's doing it again, as he did in Freca and as he did in 4.3. Did you see how close he was to the medical car in the pit lane when he pulled out the pit lane, by the way? That was Chris. I don't know whether, I was going to say, I don't know whether you had a slight moment then where you thought he was going to hit the medical car.
Yeah, we stepped back from the screen. Yeah, in that one, and it was like head in hand stuff. We very close, but that's the beauty of those pit stops. It is a race to get when you've got three cars battling for position. That's when the teams are tested to full, and that was Leo absolutely going for it, knowing he had to keep position. So yeah, but it was close. It was very, very close. I don't know if you realised it at the time, but wow. Yeah.
If he had hit it, it would have summed that race up completely, wouldn't it?
There was an element of
there would have been the pile up behind him as well.
Yeah.
So
we did
it would have just been a meme.
Yeah, we did think that. We thought that would have just,
Thank goodness he didn't, for sure. Let's talk about that incident at turn one. Chris, absolute carnage, wasn't it? Again, it was one of those moments in the commentary box where you probably don't quite know what to say after an incident like that. I thought you and Mr. Brundle did, covered it very well.
Thanks. You don't really know the extent of. I think you do. It's the extent of the incident, isn't it? It was a huge incident. For one, the amount of drivers that were involved, and two, the extent of the impact of what it could have. Ultimately, we had the two drivers on the front row crash. The driver on pole position collide into the driver that was about to take the lead of the race. He's our championship leader for sure, who could have taken the lead in the championship out of the race, and then several other drivers. And it was how many drivers have actually made it through. Who else is going to rejoin this race? How long is this race going to be? And what happens from here? It was a very unusual incident where we were relying quite heavily on the team around us, who were all in contact with the team at the circuit. Obviously, I was based at Biggin Hill. Alex was at the circuit, and all the teams were trying to figure out what the next stages were, and we were kind of going on that journey with them, to be honest. So, it was a sort of a big incident and a big clear-up process, and but you sort of in the moment realise that was a big incident, not just for the initial crash, but for everything that happened afterwards as well. So a real shame though. It's not what you want to see. You don't want to see the two leaders come together at turn one and all the drivers involved, because ultimately we saw a lot of drivers who had prepared a long time, very excited to race on Grand Prix Sunday at Monaco in a Formula 2 feature race, and we lost the potential of a really good race, I thought there, and it just kind of took the sting off it all, didn't it? It was a great battle between the top three out front, but even that battle we didn't really get to see play out. So, a real shame, and I think the penalty that came Alex Dunn's way post-race was just. To be honest, it was a move that was not really on, and I think the escape road was there for him to take.
No, you're glad all the drivers are okay, but as you say, I think it really took the sting off what was was going to be a really good race, didn't it? Between Victor Martins and Alex Dunn. Victor Martins got more than half a car length alongside, and looked like he was going to take the lead into turn one. Aaron, obviously the penalty has been a 10-place grid drop for the next race. Is that fair?
Alex Dunn can have no complaints with that. It was, to coin a Brundleism, it was a day late and a dollar short. He was behind entering the corner. He was never really alongside. The only thing I can say in Alex Dunn's defence is that possibly Victor Martins could have left a little bit more space, which I think Alex Brundle did mention on the commentary at the time. And look, we get bogged down in the racing guidelines and all of that, and it does ruin the fun of it a bit. Let's just say, look, Martins had won the corner. He was ahead. He has every right to turn in and take the lead of the Monaco Grand Prix and Formula 2 feature race even, and go on to probably win from that point. It's just, I think it's that big chance at Monaco to win. You don't get many opportunities to win at Monaco because it's so difficult to overtake. So if you start at the front, you want to make the most of it. And I think that's just where perhaps Alex didn't quite sort of get the right measure of things, because he's leading the championship. He doesn't need to win. Obviously, he wants to win, and everyone would want to win in that situation. But if he banked the 18 points for second place, because Victor Martins isn't a championship threat at the moment. That said, it can all change very quickly. So it's just one of those things. It's one of those things that I think should happen so much more often at Monaco, but it doesn't. And I think that is testament to the skill of the drivers that we see attacking that circuit. So for it to happen every so often, you can sort of make a case for it just being a one-off, although it did happen shortly after, as Chris was telling us pre-podcast. So it's just one of those things, honestly, that he'll take the penalty on the chin, and I'm sure he'll be plenty fast enough in Spain. You can overtake there, so look forward to seeing another Alex Dunn overtaking montage.
Yeah, we will get on to Barcelona very shortly. Victor Martins and Pepe Marti were fuming in the pits. Martin, I don't know whether you saw that footage. They were not happy with Alex Dunn. Alex Dunn's had such a good. Let's not criticise Alex Dunn too much, because he had such a good season so far this season, hasn't he? But that maybe was a step too far, and something he'll learn from, I'm sure. But yeah, Victor Martins, probably, very much the victim in this situation. He'd done everything he needed to do. But by the way, qualifying P2 again this season. It literally only qualified P2 and P3. P2, 4 out of the 5 races, is it? I think it is.
Yeah.
So, but he got the launch off the line, Martin, and did everything he needed to do. He'll be gutted, I'm sure, won't he?
I feel really sorry for Victor Martins. Firstly, let's not beat around the bush. I think we all said how much Alex Dunn's racecraft had improved on last week's podcast, and it was really, he caused the accident. It's frustrating for him. I hope he bounces back. Like you all said, I think the penalty is just. For Victor, I feel so sorry for him, because, in my opinion, he could be in the championship lead at this moment in time. He has shown pace at every single one of the 5 Grand Prix we've had. The race was cancelled in Melbourne, where he was due to be starting on pole. You had this week. He's with the crash. He stalled on the grid last week at Imola. It's just so frustrating for him that whenever he seems to be in the position to challenge for at least podiums, if not race wins, something seems to befall him. At Monaco, for a driver of his experience and his talent, especially when he'd got in front of Dunn off the start line, you think, right, okay, I've just got to close out the job, defend into Sandoval, defend into Mirabeau, and then hang on, is that job done? Am I going to win the feature race at Monaco? Because there's pit stops, etc. But it's likely that whoever comes out in front at the end of the first lap is going to win. And instead, he ended up in the barrier. I do feel really sorry for him. But the one thing I would say is don't count him out of the championship just yet. He's in 8th place at the moment. I might be completely wrong, but from memory, he's in 8th place. And we've only done 5 races this season. Victor Martins has shown the pace, in my opinion, to show that he could have dominated this season. And I would be very surprised if he doesn't win a few races and mounts a challenge later on. So keep an eye on him.
Yeah, totally agree.
I was going to say one more thing on Alex Dunn, if you don't mind. I completely agree with what the other guys are saying, but one thing I don't like what we've seen is the complete backlash that Alex has received off the back.
Completely agree.
Of it. He had 159 meters down to turn 1 off the back of a poor launch off the line to make a decision whether he was going to challenge for the lead or settle in, as Aaron's correctly said, and take what could have been 18 points. And as a rookie in the championship, leading the championship completely unexpectedly with the McLaren livery on, that's a very difficult decision for a young driver to make, and he had the chance to make history for Ireland there today as well. So all happens in the heat at the moment. Very easy for us to watch replays for 45 minutes and dissect his decisions, but I'm sure he will do that post-race and has done ever since. One of the first things you're taught as a racing driver is, you can't win the race at turn 1, but you can lose it. And I think in those 159 meters, Alex maybe just lost sight of that slightly. But as a rookie, when you go through this season in Formula 2, make mistakes and learn from those. And I think Alex will come back from this stronger. But I don't think the backlash is deserved. Formula 3 and Formula 2 is a learning path for drivers, and they are young drivers. We've got to make it. We've got to remember that they're teenagers, some of them. So he'll come back from this a lot stronger. He'll have the support of McLaren and Rodin, and I think he's still going to challenge for the title all the way through, despite this.
Yeah, totally agree. You can have your opinions, that's fair enough, but let's keep it clean, please. Let's keep it clean in the in the comments. And no, nothing personal. It doesn't need to be personal, does it? So as you say, Chris, they're all kids and they're learning, aren't they? So absolutely. And yeah, Victor Martins. By the way, I think Victor Martins, we're expecting to drive in FP1 in Barcelona, which is absolutely brilliant for him for Williams. So best of luck to him next weekend. I want to move it on because in the interest of time. Sebastian Montoya, first podium for him in Formula 2, Chris. After I feel like he's potentially been written off a little bit pre-season. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. It was the qualifying made it for him, didn't he? I know it was at Arvid Lindblad's expense. The second time in the same weekend that Arvid Lindblad lost the podium or played in the podium spot, which is devastating for him. But Sebastian Montoya, obviously, great weekend for him, and his best weekend in Formula 2.
Yeah, but he went on a complete emotional roller coaster, didn't he? I mean, he stalled on the grid, got put to the back, came out the pit lane and went, what on earth has happened here? Drove through, then didn't know where he was going to start, hit the jackpot, got put all the way through to second, then lost in the pit lane, and then got hit the jackpot again. So I hope he did the lottery that night. His emotions must have been all over the place in that cool down room. But in all honesty, it's been his qualifying performances, hasn't it? He qualified on the front row in Imola, qualified very well, and he's been outperforming Gabriele Mini. So, which is incredible for him and his confidence, and something I think most of us didn't see coming just from his Formula 3 performances. But he's gone well with Prema in the past, and I think he's settled well back into that team nicely. So yeah, it's good for him. It's great to see a Colombian driver doing so well in Formula 2. It's something we haven't had before. So for his country, that's great. And I think JP was a proud dad watching Sebastian go out onto the podium. Surprised for a little while, just because he didn't see it coming, like a lot of us. But yeah, he looked a proud dad.
Arvid Lindblad, Aaron, how gutted would you be? You finished in the top three, both races, and you haven't come away with a podium. Bless him.
It's such rotten luck, isn't it? The sprint race, I forget which incident it was. Was it the one with Crawford? I think it was with Jack Crawford, wasn't it, on lap one?
Yeah, at Mirabeau.
It was.
That's the one. I was thinking correctly. There was a couple of incidents during the sprint race that I was just trying to remember which one it was that he was involved in. That, I think, is just, that's part and parcel of the game. And I think that one was sort of fair enough. I thought the speeding in the pit lane was really unfortunate. It's not clear whether it was on the entry or if it was on the exit. But
Chris, do you know about that? Do you know where it was? 0.2 kilometers an hour over the limit. Do you know where it was? No.
I actually don't know where that was. No, I was just as confused as everyone else, and by that time it was, what's going on? Yeah. So yeah, I didn't know about that at all.
Sure. Sorry, Aaron, I interrupted your point there.
No, that's all right. I mean, with the pit lane, I was thinking, is it on the entry? It's easy to maybe go in a bit too hot, but I don't think that would be the case because you're coming out of a very slow corner. I think it was potentially on the exit and just being a fraction of a second too trigger happy with the button because you want to get out and get up to speed, make sure you retain track position. But he also had a car right up his gearbox, so he was obviously trying to get away and not lose time and leave himself exposed. So yeah, 0.2 of a kilometre. It's like you can almost be flippant about it and say it would make absolutely no difference if there was to be an accident, but we don't want there to be an accident. Those rules were brought in for a reason, and they are cut and dried, black and white. It's the way it is. Some rules are like that, and they need to be like that. Some are a little bit more open to interpretation, like causing a collision and gaining an advantage and things like that. So it's it's such a shame for Arvid. He drove brilliantly all weekend. Even in the sprint race, he backed everybody up and then ran away despite having front wing damage. It makes me wonder why they have the tool bits on the side at times, because they go just as fast. So what's the point of them being there? So yeah, he drove magnificently. He'll be gutted to have not come away with the podium that he definitely deserved, but his time will come. So, Barcelona a week later, you can shake it all off and get back on the track and put pedal to metal and show us what he's capable of.
Yeah, they're coming thick and fast at the moment, aren't they? I want to talk about Kush Maini, obviously winner of the sprint race, Martin, which seems a long time ago now, to be honest, but so much happened in that feature race. But yeah, good recovery. I say recovery. It's his best weekend of the season by far, isn't it? A first and a sixth place in the feature race. And yeah, obviously a difficult start to the season for him. Is this it? Is championship on again for Kush Maini?
I wouldn't go that far quite yet, but what I would say is that out of all of the chaos that was Saturday and Sunday, out of the mist came Kush Maini, and he was the one driver who, outside of the incident with Josh Dirksen, which was nothing to do with him, to be honest, on Sunday. Sorry, Josh, if you're watching. He was really put in a really good weekend, and the sort of weekend that we're used to seeing from drivers that are experienced in the championship, that know that you don't want to be doing risky moves, and that actually at Monaco, if you can just put a clean race together, then you're going to score a lot of points. And I thought it was a really impressive weekend from Kush. He held off Gabriele Mini. Okay, it's Monaco, it's not too difficult, but Gabriele's a fast driver. And I think that if Kush can start to put together a run of results, then this might be a really good run of form for him. He was talking to us in the press conference on Saturday, and he was talking about how actually they had quite a lot of pace at Imola. And of course, his crash, we've talked about last week, his crash in qualifying affected a lot of drivers. It affected him as well. He felt he could have had a really good shot at qualifying at the front end of the grid. You've seen that his teammate, Jack Crawford, has won 2 out of the last 4 races. And so I think that there's some real potential there for Dams. And after not scoring at all, I think, in the first few races, they're really stepping on the gas, to coin a phrase.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Hopefully Kush can push on from here, because obviously a driver who we know is a good driver but hasn't quite had the luck go his way this season, and his pace hasn't been representative this season. So yes, absolutely. And finally, I just want to move on to, and we'll touch on this quickly because I'm conscious of time, but Ollie Bearman got a 10-second time penalty for a move on Victor Martins at Rascasse. Chris, you're shaking your head. I feel like every driver that we talk about Monaco and not being able to overtake, right? And the difficulty of overtaking around Monaco. I feel like every driver that tried a move this weekend ended up being penalised for it, and that, in my opinion, was the harshest of them all. Do you? You're nodding your head, so I'm assuming you're agreeing with me.
Well, yeah, I have to. I put my neck on the line with that one and called it the move of the season. The stewards clearly had my commentary on and went, no. So, there you go. Bring back Alex Jakes, right? What a way to do my first Monaco F2 race. First race in, move of the season gets a 10-second penalty. That was a bit awkward. Honestly, though, I thought it was a great move. Odegaard did. Victor Martins maybe disagreed because he had to come through the pit lane. But it seemed like a great move. I don't know how he managed to find the space. It seemed to get far enough down the inside, but maybe just missed the apex. But it looked from the onboard like a superb move. But Victor Martins did pick up a little bit of. He was a bit wounded after, wasn't he? So, but he gave it a go, and for me, it did look like in British Tour. I tell you, I was speaking to the producer after, and we were like, in British touring cars, that's a great move. In F2. Maybe not. If there's any British touring car fan watching, you'll know what we mean. So yeah, that was our analysis afterwards. Ollie Bearman, if you're watching, I loved it, and I still stand by that was a fantastic move.
Go on, Aaron. I know you disagree. Go on.
So I don't disagree with the sentiment that it was a very good move. It was a very opportunist move. I think where this overtake falls foul is those dreaded racing guidelines and where is the apex and who was ahead and where was the front wheel. Oh, it's boring. Oh, it's horrible. Just let them crack on. Also, don't biff someone in the barrier as you do it. I think that's really what put the nail in the coffin for the penalty. The 10 seconds was probably quite harsh, but I think it was more sort of a, well, you basically ruined this guy's entire race. So it was a bit. The stewards were very, very liberal with their penalties this weekend. George Russell said he was going to just take the penalty, and they're like, "Okay, have the heaviest one you can." That was incredible. So I think at the time, I just felt, that's going to end up in a penalty because others already had as well. So they'd already set a precedent in that sense. It's a shame that we have to see penalties handed out, but it's also a shame that we can't see the drivers go wheel to wheel around Monaco. It's just there's been articles bandied about today about modifications to the circuit and how they might enable overtaking, but honestly, I just don't think anything is going to work. The move at the Rascasse, you need the other driver to be compliant. I don't think Martins maybe saw that the move was happening early enough to be compliant enough, so they were just always going to tangle. Look, you can't fault Ollie Goethe for trying because it gives us something to talk about, and it was exciting. You have a go. What's the worst that can happen? Just poor Victor Martins. Both races ended up in the barrier. Poor guy can't catch a break.
I just want to pick up on something Aaron said slightly. I'm gonna kind of sit on the fence. I want to sit between Chris and Aaron. I think it was a very good move. But I think at any other circuit, if a driver is as close to Victor Martins going into, the second or third heaviest braking zone on the circuit, Victor Martins in his head is thinking, let's make sure there's space if he wants to come through. I don't want to end up in the barrier. Now, I'm not saying that the move was completely clean. I'm not saying that Victor Martins should have potentially done anything different because you don't expect someone to make the move. But I think if you look at Barcelona, if someone's going to come and make a move on you on turn 10, you'll think, right, am I going to defend? Am I going to go to the outside line? What am I going to do with this hairpin corner? Whereas with the Rascasse, it's so unexpected because it's Monaco, because the idea is you can't overtake. I think where that has fermented, it makes it even more difficult to make a clean overtake because it is so unexpected. If it happened like it kind of used to a couple of times a race, especially in Formula 2, where there was a clean move at the Rascasse, then maybe, considering these cars aren't as big as F1, maybe it would happen more often. But I think where it's so unexpected and so unforeseen, it's almost difficult to expect Martins to offer space, but also difficult to expect Oliver to not take up the opportunity, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Can we just give credit to Ollie Goethe, by the way? I mean, the move of the season was definitely 2 round the outside at was it turn 12 at Bahrain?
Yeah,
I mean, he's brave. My word, like he did 2 round the outside of Bahrain, and he attempted a move at the Rascasse. Like
unbelievable.
He's amazing. So
I think he got one at the hotel hairpin as well. I can't remember if it was on the outside or the inside, but he definitely got one on the inside. Because I remember thinking, once the penalties had sort of started stacking up, thinking, has every overtake been penalised? And I thought, no, Goethe did an overtake before he got the one. Before he did the one with Martins. So basically, I think his confidence was really high. I can do it. I am the guy. I am the one who can overtake at Monaco. And it just sends it everywhere.
It's similar almost, the Martins move, to the move that Antonelli put on Bortoletto in the Formula 1 race at Portier. On the first lap, and by the way, Gabriel Bortoletto is not getting enough credit for the move round the outside of Antonelli at the hairpin.
It was unbelievable.
Super. Mm-hmm. Now, you're going into Portier. Okay, it's not an obvious overtaking spot, as Esteban Ocon proved last year. But I think that on lap 1, at most other tracks, when you've just overtaken somebody, especially a faster car, drivers have got their wits about them. I don't think, from memory, Kimi and Gabriel made contact. And Kimi, I think, it was good that Kimi didn't get a penalty, but Gabriel's looking out for that move a lot of the rest of the time, but he just didn't expect it because it was Monaco.
Listen, Senna and Mansell and co would have been disgusted at that penalty back in the day. That's hard but fair racing, in my opinion. So
Exactly.
but there you go. We can all disagree, guys, and it's okay to disagree. Funny enough. So let's take a look at the championship standings before we go. Then Luke Brown. By the way, we haven't spoken about Luke Brown in all podcasts, and he's the championship leader.
Consistency, keyword consistency. He is out-consistencing the consistency king. Say that after you've had a few
I'll
beers at
try
the
it,
pub.
Spain.
Yeah.
Fit it in.
Good luck. Listen, Luke Brown leads the Formula 2 Championship for the first time in his career, moving ahead of Irishman Alex Dunn. Leo Fornaroli moves up to third ahead of Richard Verschoor in the standings. Feature race winner Jack Crawford moves up to fifth on 56 points ahead of Campos pair Arvid Lindblad and Pepe Marti, and Gabriele Mini rounds out the top 10. And the team standings, High-Tech maintained the lead of the championship ahead of Campos and Invicta. Dams moving up nicely after a difficult start to the season for them, fourth with a double victory this weekend. Prema move up to seventh in the standings after 2 podiums, and Trident still round out the team standings. Okay, Spain next. I'm not here next weekend, so I'm going to leave the podcast in the capable hands of Mr. McCarthy. Can I get an early prediction, chaps? Who's going to win the feature race next time out? Aaron, I'm going to come to you first. Feature race winner in Barcelona.
Victor Martins.
Victor Martins. He's going to bounce back. I like that. Martin, who's going to win the feature race?
Oh, I thought it was going to be outlandish. I'm going to back up what I said earlier in the episode, and then Aaron just says it for me. So I'm going to pick someone else, and I am going to pick Luke Browning to win his first feature race.
Luke Browning, beautiful. And Chris, winner for the feature race. Can you give us a prediction? Yeah, you have to be completely neutral.
No, Campos Racing always go well there, so I will go for Arvid Lindblad. It's going to be him or Pepe, I think. So I think they'll win their home race. So I'll go for Arvid to win his first feature race.
A Pepe.
No, I'm not being British biased. I just think he'll do it.
A Pepe
Neither am I.
Yeah. A Pepe Campos win at Barcelona in Spain would be unbelievable, wouldn't it? Double home win. By the way, I don't want to leave today without giving a shout out to obviously former Formula 2 driver Lando Norris on winning his first Formula 1 race his first Monaco Grand Prix. And I also want to give a shout out to his former teammate. Do you remember that in Campos 2017? Alex Palou, who obviously won the Indy 500 as well. So massive shout out to those two former Formula 2 drivers. That's all we got time for today. If you've enjoyed the show, please make sure you give it a like, subscribe for more Formula 2 content, and obviously get involved in the conversation on our social media channels. Let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comments. But as we said, keep it clean. We always enjoy hearing your thoughts and opinions. But from me, Fraser Ford, and all of us here at Inside F2, we'll see you next time.